Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're kicking off something new, actually a series looking at the 10 biggest developments likely to shake up, well, everything. Industry, policy, your daily life over the next 5 years or so. We're seeing AI move from being this, interesting proof of concept to really becoming fundamental infrastructure, like electricity or the internet. Okay, so let's unpack this first one. Today's deep dive, it's all about foundation model as a service, FMaaS, you'll hear us call it, and these universal multimodal APIs. Our mission really is simple. Give you the shortcut, help you understand what this huge shift means for you, your work, the whole future, basically. We'll try and make some pretty complex stuff, hopefully crystal clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's more than just, another tech update. This feels like a really profound transition. It could genuinely redefine how pretty much everyone interacts with advanced AI. So we'll dig into not just what it is, but crucially, why it's such a big deal. And of course, the challenges because, well, there are always challenges, right? Big ones, actually.
Definitely. Okay, let's start with the basics then. Build that foundation. FMaaS, foundation model as a service. It sounds technical, maybe a bit intimidating. Can you break it down? What is it, simply?
Right. So at its heart, FMaaS is really about making top-tier AI accessible. Think of it as a cloud service that lets you connect to and use these incredibly powerful pre-trained AI models, foundation models, just using APIs. It's pretty similar to model as a service, or MaaS, which people might have heard of. But this is specifically for these newer, very versatile, general-purpose AI systems. And you're already seeing the big players jump in. Amazon's got Titan, Microsoft has Azure OpenAI, Google's obviously deep in this too. They're basically packaging up this advanced AI so lots more people can actually use it.
Okay, so the key is accessing these specific foundation models, not just any old AI. And the applications, from what we've seen, they're really broad, aren't they? It's not a one-trick pony.
Exactly. That's the core idea. These foundation models are built to be adaptable. You can tweak them, fine-tune them for, well, a huge range of specific jobs, or sometimes just use them straight out of the box. We're talking generating all sorts of content marketing stuff, software code, creative writing, even music now. Improving customer service, making product development faster, analyzing complex data. The list just keeps growing. But honestly, their sheer versatility is one of the most exciting things. It opens up innovation in places you might not even think of yet.
That adaptability sounds key. We've seen reports suggesting traditional AI often needed huge investment, specialist teams. So for a business, what's the biggest win with FMaaS? Is it just saving money, or it's more about, enabling new ideas?
It's definitely both, but I think the innovation part is really profound. Historically, yeah, you needed massive, complex infrastructure. You needed teams of highly specialized people just to build and run these things. FMaaS basically lifts that entire burden. Companies can avoid those huge upfront costs, the ongoing headaches of managing it all. And that means they can focus purely on using the AI to solve their problems. They don't have to spend years and, frankly, millions just building the AI engine itself. That doesn't just save cash. It dramatically speeds up how quickly they can try new things, experiment, innovate with AI.
That feels like a really fundamental shift. So why should you, listening right now, care about this? Whether you run a business, lead a team, or you're just watching the tech world. What's the timeline here, and what's the real impact going to look like?
Well, right now, FMaaS is mostly still in, beta testing. But our projections, looking at the trends, suggest it'll really start hitting its stride, becoming mainstream, probably between, say, 2027 and 2029. And when that happens, the impact, it's going to be transformative. It means pretty much any organization, big or small, whatever their current tech level, can just plug into a single AI engine that's constantly being updated. And crucially, it's not just text. We're talking multimodal handling text, images, sound, structured data all together. This massively lowers that talent barrier. You don't need armies of AI PhDs anymore. It's going to massively speed up AI adoption, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. Think about, a local shop using AI to optimize inventory, or a small clinic using it to help analyze patient data trends. It really levels the playing field.
Wow, that really democratizes things. Okay, you keep mentioning foundation models. Let's zoom in there. What is it about them specifically that gives them these wide-ranging abilities? What makes an FM an FM?
Right. So foundation models, FMs, they are at their core, large AI models. But the key difference is how they're trained. They learn from absolutely enormous, incredibly diverse data sets. We're talking text, images, code, audio, you name it. And it's this incredibly broad training that lets them handle a huge variety of tasks. often really well without needing specific training for each new thing. They learn these general patterns, these underlying representations of information that can then be applied or adapted. They're designed from the ground up to be general purpose, a foundation you can build specific applications on top of.
Okay, that helps. But then here's something I know confuses people, me included sometimes. What's the actual difference between a foundation model and a large language model, an LLM? Are they the same, or is one part of the other?
Good question. And yeah, it's easy to get them mixed up. Think of it this way. Foundation model is the broad category. It describes any of these big AI models trained on massive, varied data, designed to be adaptable for lots of different tasks later on. A large language model, or LLM, is a specific type of foundation model. Its specialty is understanding and generating human language. So it's trained mostly on text data. So basically all LLMs are foundation models, but not all foundation models are LLMs. You can have FMs that are primarily focused on images or audio, or like we said, multimodal ones that handle several types of data. Foundation model really refers to the training approach and the general purpose design.
Got it. So LLMs are a subset. Does that mean, though, that all these different types of foundation models still share some of the same characteristics we see in LLMs, like the tendency to sometimes make things up or hallucinate? Or does being multimodal change that?
That's a really sharp point. They do share the foundational training method, yes. But the multimodal aspect introduces both new strengths and potentially new complexities. For instance, a text-only LLM might generate something factually wrong based purely on language patterns it learned. A multimodal FM, though, might be able to, say, cross-reference information from an image and text about the same topic. That could potentially reduce certain kinds of errors. But on the flip side, interpreting and integrating information across different modes, like trying to make sense of conflicting signals from audio and visual data, that introduces its own set of challenges and potential failure points. The sheer diversity of the training data also means their knowledge and biases can be different in subtle ways.
Interesting trade-offs. Okay, let's tackle the other part of FMaaS, the API. For those listening who aren't developers, what on earth is an API, and why is it the magic key that unlocks these FMs for everyone else?
Right, API. It stands for Application Programming Interface. The simplest way to think about it is like a messenger or a translator between different software programs. Imagine you want to use a weather app on your phone. That app needs to get data from a weather service, right? The API is the standard way the app asks the service, hey, what's the temperature in London? And gets the answer back in a format it understands. So with FMaaS, these huge complex foundation models are made available, or exposed, through APIs. This means developers can easily plug the AI's capabilities like text generation or image analysis directly into their own apps or business workflows without needing to know how the giant AI model actually works internally. The API specification is just the set of rules for how to make that connection. Without APIs, these powerful models will be stuck inside the labs of Google or Microsoft, incredibly hard for anyone else to actually use. They're essential for accessibility.
Okay, this is where it gets super interesting for businesses, for innovators. You talked about scalability, saving costs, but just how scalable is this? And what does that really mean for investment? Because building your own AI like this, well, it costs a fortune, right? Takes years, needs rare talent.
Oh, the scalability is a massive, massive advantage.
Yeah.
These cloud providers, they have the resources to build and host truly enormous models.
Yeah.
We're talking numbers like approximately 10 trillion parameters.
Yeah, it's staggering. For context, models considered huge just a few years ago were in the billions. This scale gives them incredible power and versatility. And these models aren't static. They're constantly being refined, updated with new data. Users then tap into this power through those APIs we just mentioned. And the key economic benefit is that the cloud provider handles all the complex, expensive infrastructure, the specialized chips, the cooling, the expert staff, all of it. So a user can scale their usage way up for a big project, then scale it right back down afterwards, paying only for what they use. There's no huge upfront investment in hardware or trying to hire impossible-to-find AI experts. It lets businesses completely bypass the incredibly difficult multi-million-dollar task of building, training, and maintaining their own foundation models and the giant clusters of GPUs needed to run them. It's like renting a superpower instead of trying to build it from scratch.
So this is huge for startups or medium-sized companies. Suddenly, they don't need Google's budget to play in the big leagues with AI. You mentioned manufacturing earlier. Can you give us another example, maybe a less obvious one? How could a small business leverage this?
Absolutely. Okay, think about a small independent game development studio. Maybe just a few people. Traditionally, creating realistic character, generating varied dialogue, even designing complex game levels that takes enormous time and resources. They could use an API to connect to a multimodal foundation model. They could use it to generate character concepts based on descriptions, maybe even generate textures or 3D model starting points from sketches. They could use an LLM part to draft dialogue options or even generate quest ideas. Suddenly, this tiny team has access to creative and technical assistance that was previously only available to massive studios with hundreds of staff. It doesn't replace the human creativity, but it massively accelerates the process and expands what's possible for them. It allows them to punch way above their weight.
That really paints a picture. And it's not just about using some generic off-the-shelf model, is it? You mentioned fine-tuning. How important is that customization aspect for different industries?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial. So, yes, you can start by picking a pre-trained model from the provider's library, maybe a big general one or one slightly more specialized if available. But the real power often comes from adapting it further. That's fine-tuning. You take that general model and you train it a bit more, but using a smaller, focused data set specific to your industry or your company. So for that game studio, they could fine-tune a general model using dialogue from their previous games or specific art styles they like. This makes the AI's output much more relevant, more aligned with their specific needs and creative vision. It means you get a tool that feels bespoke, tailored to your challenges, but without the colossal cost and effort of building it all yourself from the ground up. It's that combination of power and adaptability that's so compelling.
That adaptability is amazing. You mentioned a massive boost to innovation. Can you give us maybe one more, perhaps unexpected example? Where might FMaaS spark something totally new in a field we don't normally associate with cutting-edge AI?
Okay, this is where the potential gets really exciting, maybe a bit sci-fi even. Consider historical research or archaeology. Imagine trying to decipher ancient fragmented texts or reconstruct historical sites from incomplete records. With FMaaS, a research team could feed a multimodal model, all available data scan texts, site surveys, related historical documents, even climate data from the period. The FM could potentially identify patterns, suggest translations for damaged scripts, or even generate plausible 3D reconstructions of sites based on partial evidence, far faster in potentially identifying connections a human might miss. It wouldn't replace the historian or archaeologist, but it could become an incredibly powerful assistant, processing vast amounts of data and suggesting hypotheses or avenues of research that weren't feasible before. It could genuinely accelerate discovery and feels far removed from tech development itself.
That's incredible. It really shows the breadth of this. But okay, with all this power, all this accessibility, we have to talk about the other side of the coin. What are the big challenges, the hurdles, the risks that come along with putting this capability out there?
Yes, absolutely critical to discuss. And you're right, with great power comes, well, significant challenges. We can broadly group the main ones into two big buckets, data governance and model governance.
Yeah.
And navigating these is going to be a continuous effort.
Okay, let's take those one by one. Data governance. That sounds complex, especially when you're talking about models trained on literally billions of data points from all over the place. What are the main issues there?
It is incredibly complex. Data governance here is all about managing the data used to train these massive models. You need to know where the data came from, its provenance. You need to ensure its quality. And critically, you need to make sure it complies with all sorts of regulations like GDPR for privacy in Europe or CCPA in California. Think about it. Billions of pieces of text, images, maybe code. Was any of it copyrighted? Did it contain personal information that shouldn't have been used? How do you even track that across such vast data sets? How do you ensure fairness and avoid embedding harmful biases from the training data? Maintaining compliance, ensuring ethical sourcing, managing potential bias. It requires constant vigilance, robust processes, and frankly, new tools and techniques just to handle the scale. It's a massive ongoing headache, but absolutely essential to get right.
Yeah, that sounds like a minefield. Okay, what about the other bucket? Model governance. This sounds more like controlling how the AI is actually used, right? Preventing misuse.
Exactly. Model governance is about managing the deployed AI itself. It's this really delicate balancing act. On one side, you absolutely need strong safeguards to prevent misuse. We're talking about preventing the generation of harmful content, things like sophisticated disinformation, deepfakes used for fraud, realistic phishing emails, hate speech. The potential for harm is significant, and providers have a responsibility here. But on the other side, you want to keep the service open enough to encourage all the amazing beneficial innovation we've been talking about. You don't want to lock it down so tightly that legitimate uses are stifled. So the huge question is, how do you draw that line? How do you implement effective safety measures, content filters, usage policies without crippling the technology's positive potential? It's a constant tension between enabling innovation and ensuring responsible, safe deployment. It's maybe one of the biggest ethical and practical challenges we face with this tech.
Wow. Okay, what an incredible overview. We've gone from defining FMaaS and ATIs to seeing how they could revolutionize everything from small businesses to historical research, while also touching on these really significant governance challenges. It really feels like foundation model as a service and these universal APIs are poised to, well, truly democratize advanced AI, making it less like some exotic research project and more like a utility, something countless organizations can just plug into. The potential for boosting innovation, efficiency, it's immense.
It absolutely is. It signals a shift to an era where really sophisticated AI becomes a readily available resource, scalable, accessible like never before. But yeah, as we've discussed, that power comes hand in hand with huge responsibilities. The opportunity is incredible, no doubt, but it's inseparable from the need for really thoughtful, robust governance, managing both the data going in and the models coming out. We have to get that part right. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with, connecting this back to that infrastructure idea. As advanced AI does become this readily available utility through services, what new kinds of creativity, what new ways of solving problems does that actually unlock? Especially in areas, that maybe haven't been super tech heavy before, and maybe even more profoundly. What does it mean for how we define human ingenuity itself? When tools this powerful are potentially available to everyone, augmenting our own minds and skills in ways we're only just beginning to imagine.
Those are some deep questions indeed. Definitely food for thought. How does our own role, our own creativity evolve alongside these tools? It's something I think we'll all be grappling with as this technology unfolds. We really hope this deep dive has given you a solid understanding of this major shift and maybe sparked some ideas about how it might impact your own world. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll be back soon with our next deep dive into the forces shaping our future. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please feel free to click on the link in the description below to discover more podcasts.